It was December 1990, almost Christmas and the holidays. By all accounts, everything seemed routine in the life of a new Hyde Park mother of two, except her best friends say she had recently revealed to them there was some trouble in her marriage.
Her and I and her other best friend Kelly went out to dinner, and she was talking about how she was not happy in her marriage, and that was the first we ever heard of it.
And a few weeks later, 31-year-old Noreen Braun had vanished. It was the night before her 32nd birthday. Her husband told police at the time that she had gone to the local supermarket at 11 o'clock at night. Flyers were posted and a wooded area was searched, and detectives did ask a lot of questions.
Everybody we have checked with at this particular time said that she was a dedicated mother. She never went any place without her two children.
Here at News 12 Long Island, we did a lot of reports about Noreen Braun's mysterious disappearance. It was a neighborhood that really has a small town feel.
It was supposed to be a routine trip to the supermarket, but it's turned into a mystery.
You would be surprised that somebody would just plain disappear that way. There's got to be more to the story than what we know about.
This time, of course, the investigation is still continuing. We're going to be searching certain areas and hope we can turn up something.
But Noreen Braun was never found. Not a single solid clue. It's now more than 28 years later, and there's still no answers, and no suspects have ever officially been named by the Nassau County Police Department. I recently learned about this because one of Noreen's best friends, who's still haunted by the unknown, reached out to News 12 Long Island.
Hopefully somebody's going to come forward who knew something from 28 years ago.
Her name is Elaine Commando. She now lives in South Carolina. She drove up. It was a sunny and cold winter's day, and I met her in the parking lot where she, nearly 3 decades ago, found her best friend's abandoned car.
This is where I actually found the car. Her husband, John, had called me at 8 o'clock in the morning and asked me if I could go to Pathmark to see if her car was there, because they had a little argument that night and she went to buy cookies. To make cookies for Christmas. Her car was right around this area here. I wasn't sure why she would park in that spot, because at 11 o'clock at night, if you're going to Pathmark by yourself, and I'm sure there wasn't a lot of cars here, she probably would have parked closer to the store, I was thinking. So I thought that was a little strange. John came down to the parking lot. We looked in the car was locked. She had wrapped Christmas presents in the back. I did not feel good at that point. Her car was there all night, so I did not feel good. I figured something bad had happened at that point.
When you got the call from John that morning, what were you thinking?
He said that he woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and Noreen wasn't there. So I guess he was concerned. He called me not until 8 o'clock, though. So I don't really know why he didn't go from 5 to 9 to check, but his mother was there at the time when he called me at 8 o'clock.
Is it unusual to you that she would come out to get something to make Christmas cookies at 11 o'clock at night, the night before her birthday?
To me it was. I mean, I never knew her to do that, so, I thought that was a little odd. Yeah.
So if you're going to cover a cold case nearly 3 decades old, you're going to have to do your research. So I went back and checked our archives, and I do mean back. Back to a dusty tape closet here at the News 12 studios. Back there are 3/4-inch tapes with handwritten lists of stories that aired. I found a few reports from December 1990 and January 1991.
It's been more than 2 weeks since 31-year-old Noreen Braun left her new Hyde Park home to go shopping and never returned to her husband John and 2 small children.
Noreen Braun is 5 foot 2 inches, 135 pounds, with brown eyes and straight shoulder-length brown hair.
Nassau County Police have so far come to a dead end with their investigation into the disappearance of Noreen Braun back on December 12th.
There's no way she would leave her children. The children were her life.
Immediately after the disappearance, Noreen's sister Susan had told us she believed Noreen had been abducted by a stranger.
The fact that she's missing, to me, means that she was taken by somebody. I don't know who, but somebody took her.
And 2 months later, Noreen's sister hired a psychic.
She pinpointed an area on a little map that she drew. It's like a park area around a cemetery. We're going to go with the firemen and we're going to check out that area and see if there's anything.
Search teams went over hundreds of acres, sifting through debris, underbrush, and rubble.
That led to an all-day search of Van Cortlandt Park, which is in the Bronx. That was near the firehouse where Noreen's husband, John, worked.
Conspicuously absent from the search, though, was Noreen Braun's husband, John. Though police say he is not a suspect, he has hired a lawyer and has refused to talk to the press.
Elaine remembers that well.
We all went on the search. Her mother, her sister, his fireman friends, there was police dogs. But John did not go because he said it was too upsetting, so he did not participate on the search.
Well, by the time the 1-year anniversary of Noreen's disappearance came around in December 1991, Noreen's sister made it clear to us reporters what she really thought happened.
1 year after first believing Noreen Braun was abducted, she now is convinced her sister was murdered.
I think that some harm has become her. I really don't believe she's alive anymore. I was over there on a daily basis and I saw them fight daily. They had arguments and fights daily. We have been totally cut off from the kids. We're not allowed to see them anymore. I used to see them every day and now I can't see them at all. Her husband has denied me every right to visit them. He complained that he was stuck in a bad marriage, and he complained to her best friend that he wasn't going to give her a divorce and she wasn't going to get his kids. And I mean, just everything put together just makes us believe that he had something to do with it.
But publicly, police said at the time,
no conclusions have been drawn as to a primary suspect or anything like that, but again, since we have no specific suspect, then no one has been eliminated from being that suspect.
And the bad blood got even thicker as time went on. There was a court custody battle over Noreen and John's 2 children. It was a day in 1992 in a courtroom hallway. It was one of the only times in the 1990s that John Braun spoke to one of our reporters.
The grandmother accuses me of killing my wife in front of my children and has made statements like that to my neighbors in my town, has repeatedly told me that she was going to get my children from me and take them from me.
I never said anything to my son-in-law. God should strike me right here. I never once accused him of anything.
With all that history in my head and standing in the cold in that supermarket parking lot, I told Elaine I want to try to find John and talk to John. And I want to see for myself where Noreen and John lived back in 1990. We drove just over a mile. John and Noreen's apartment at the time was on Jericho Turnpike in New Hyde Park. We parked and walked. It was upstairs above a plumbing store that John owned.
So yeah, this is it. They lived upstairs.
There is still a plumbing store on the first floor, but it's long been under new ownership. And as we stood there talking, Elaine mentioned to me that someone in the neighborhood told her there was once a well in the backyard. Well, we walked to the side of the store. Of course, we wanted to see what we could see, but there was a fence. Looking for if there's any grass.
I wish we could get back there. It's a new owner now. Maybe he'll let us go back there.
What are you guys filming?
And at that moment, the current owner of the plumbing store popped his head out.
Oh, yeah. Wait, we're looking for, are you the owner of this place now? Yeah. Okay, this is, we're doing the story about Noreen.
So as I often do in my job, I got right to the point.
We were wondering, would we be able to come in the backyard and look?
I prefer not to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I've read the article in the Newsday and everything, and what can you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We just want to get it out there again, and you know.
Listen, I don't blame you. Listen,
somebody
if
wants
it was my wife, my mother, my daughter, absolutely.
Yeah.
What can you say?
Is there still a well in the backyard?
Is there still a well in the backyard? Yes.
Is it filled in?
It was filled up many years ago. Before that, I worked for John's brother Ricky for a few years, and then I actually bought the place from him about 20 something years ago. So that actually happened 2 years before I came here.
Have the police tried to come back and search the well?
Not since I've been here.
No, and you've owned it since?
Yeah, I've owned it for the last 20 years.
Is the entire backyard cement now, including over the well, or is there, yeah?
As far as I know, yes.
Well, I learned the new owner's name is Chris. He went back inside, and Elaine looked at me. I asked her if she knew. Did police ever search the apartment or the plumbing store or the backyard for evidence?
You would want to search this house, this property, around the store, you know?
Right, and I'm not sure what they actually searched.
I told Elaine, let's both call the homicide detectives in charge of this cold case as soon as we're done here and let them know what we found out. But first, I really wanted to do one last thing. Try to speak to John and see what he knows.
Hello?
Hi, John. I'm Eileen from News 12.
Hi.
We're doing the story about the disappearance of your wife, Noreen.
Okay.
And just wanted to get, your input on that. Like, what do you think happened to her? We're trying to renew the interest in the case and see if it could be solved.
Okay, I don't have any new news about it. If you want news, please ask the police department. This was brought up by my in-laws from, Noreen's side. It's been very disturbing to my two older children, and I prefer not to have any more comment other than that. Okay?
Can you just tell me what you think happened to her? Do you think she's alive?
No, I don't think she's alive.
Okay.
No. I think she was murdered. That's what I think, and we just haven't ever found her.
Murdered, but when she went to the Pathmark?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty.
There was a report that a lady seen an argument there.
Okay.
Okay, that came out about 2 weeks later, but nothing ever turned up from it.
Between her and a man?
Two men.
Two men.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a description of those men or any video?
You gotta get, yes, but I was not involved in it. My fire department friends who were out searching at the time turned it over to the police and the lady over, and I don't know what came of it. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Well, this was the first I had heard about this report of a lady getting into an argument at the Pathmark, and it wasn't mentioned in any of our previous coverage. Certainly, I wondered who this witness was, and could I find them now?
Hi, it's Eileen Lehpamer. How are you? I'm looking for Detective Fitzpatrick. Is he there? Well, I have some questions for him. It's kind of a lot, though. So, okay, I'll put him in an email. Great. I'll send him over. Thanks. So here are the questions I wrote and the answers I received from Detective Lieutenant Stephen Fitzpatrick, the head of Nassau County's Homicide Unit. I emailed question 1. There was a witness report that Noreen was confronted by 2 men in the parking lot of the Pathmark. Is that considered a credible statement, or was it ruled out? Detective Fitzpatrick answered, at the time of the investigation, no other witnesses came forward to support this report, so it could not be verified, nor could it be ruled out. There was no video surveillance available at the time of the incident. Question number 2. Was anyone named a suspect? Detective Fitzpatrick answered, if there is a person of interest in any criminal case, it would be the policy of the department not to name that individual. Question number 3. Was her husband, John Braun, considered a suspect? Detective Fitzpatrick wrote, as answered in the above question, it is not the policy of the department to name a person of interest during an investigation. However, the husband was interviewed during that time and soon thereafter retained an attorney. Those interviews were not particularly helpful towards the investigation. Question 4, was the couple's apartment at 1310 Jericho Turnpike ever searched for evidence? The answer, During the investigation, the husband did not grant permission to search any of the family properties, and there was insufficient probable cause to obtain a search warrant for these properties. Question 5, was a backyard well at that location ever searched? The answer, no search was conducted on the property due to the reason stated above. So now we knew that Detective Lieutenant Fitzpatrick and others on the case were aware of that sealed up well in the backyard. I called back the owner of the plumbing store, and he said he would allow police to dig in his backyard. However, at the time of this broadcast, that has not yet happened.
Elaine has since gone home to South Carolina, and we stay in touch. Before she left, we sat down one last time, and she showed me some more photos of her and Noreen.
This is Noreen with her daughter. It was Halloween. We went trick-or-treating together. This was her son, Anthony. That was so cute. She dressed him as a mummy. She just wrapped all ace bandage around him.
It's an easy costume.
It's really cute. Yeah, so that was basically like a month and a half before she disappeared.
Are these the last pictures you think you have of her?
Those are the last pictures I have. She gave them to me the day that I had met with her in November, and she had given me these pictures of Halloween. And this was Noreen when she got married. And this is Noreen again with my daughter, who she's the godmother for. She was great with kids, Noreen. She loved kids. She was great. This was when we went away to Aruba together. Yeah, that was a fun trip.
How do you feel looking at them now?
Very sad. Very sad. I mean, she was my best friend. She was so much fun. She was just a great, great person, and, you know, we really miss her.
You said this is hard for you to do, but...
It's very hard. Very hard to, you know, think about all that whole time. It was a very difficult time.
Yeah. Well, I'd have to say, like, what a great friend you are, too. I mean, you drove up from South Carolina.
I did. Yes, it's very important to me to get it out there and, you know, just get it out there.
And we spoke about how she really hopes she will finally get the answer she's been seeking for nearly 30 years. What happened to Noreen?
So is it more important for you to try to get justice and have somebody arrested, or just to know what happened, so there's no lingering questions?
Both. Both. I'd like to know what happened, and then if we know what happened, hopefully that person will get justice. Okay. And justice will be done for Noreen's sake. I mean, hopefully something will happen. Somebody will finally come forward and say they know something. I mean, somebody out there knows something. So we're just hoping that somebody will say something and somehow get to the bottom of it, because there is somebody out there that knows.
Well, 6 months after we spoke with Elaine, some of Noreen Higuchi Brown's other friends contacted me. The case was still cold, and they wanted to make a difference. They wanted answers. So Sue and Maria also came from out of state here to Long Island to speak with me and see what else they could do to try to jumpstart this case.
We're just trying to poke around enough to get the interest so that we could find our friend.
The renewed effort to find Noreen Braun actually began more than 2 years ago, when Noreen's high school friends returned to Long Island for a class reunion.
We were appalled and bewildered as to why she was not found yet, or she's still missing. Her family still misses her. She has 2 brothers and a sister. Her mom is deceased, but we still remember her dearly.
When we came down to the reunion and we found out that it was not solved and it is still open, that's when we were in tears that entire day. And it kind of sparked us, because we all went to high school together, we were all friends together, and it kind of touched something in our hearts. And there was a couple of us who said, I wonder where this investigation is going. I wonder if they found anything out. So we all looked at each other and vowed that we would dig into it and see what's going on.
And Maria and Sue kept their vow, going back through old news reports and scouring the internet.
We did stumble over Elaine Commando, who you interviewed a couple months ago. She was the woman that went to Pathmark. She was the woman that was Noreen's friend at the time.
Her car was right around this area here.
Which brings us back here to New Hyde Park on a summer day in 2019, nearly 29 years later. I met Sue and Maria at what is now a King Cullen.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you so much.
So prayers are needed more than anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sue and Maria handed out missing posters, put flyers on cars, and stopped shoppers in the parking lot.
Ma'am, we're searching for missing persons that was last seen in 1990 in this parking lot here in Pathmark. So if you have any information, or if you could take that flyer, and if you know anyone in the area and could help, any information would be helpful. Thank you so much.
During their time at the store, the ladies even went inside to try to post the flyers.
So would we be able to put this flyer up in this bulletin board?
And the manager agreed to let them hang the missing poster inside a glass case that would be right there when customers walk inside. And now you may be wondering why the ladies think that going back to a supermarket and putting up missing posters 3 decades later could still be useful.
Hi, have you been living in New Hyde Park many years?
To understand that, you have to understand New Hyde Park. It's a small village of about 2,500 families located in western Nassau County, not far from the Queens border. A place with tree-lined streets and families that live there, generation after generation. A place where it doesn't take long for news or gossip to spread.
What we're really looking for is anybody that, you know, this is a small town here, so anybody who remembers anything or could give any information to the police department as well. They have 2 detectives that are on it. The police department still have an open case, so we're hoping that, you know, somebody will come forward to help.
So after an hour at the supermarket, Maria and Sue told me they were ready to move on. What they really wanted to know more about, the sealed up well that we had learned about 6 months prior. It's in the backyard of the property that was owned by Noreen and John in 1990. The plumbing store downstairs, their apartment upstairs.
What are your thoughts about that? Do you think she could possibly be buried there?
She could be anywhere, and that's all we want to do. We would like to find Noreen. We'd like to put her to rest. We'd like to give her the proper send-off that she does deserve.
So the ladies wanted to see what they could find out about the well and other properties where Noreen had spent time. So we went to the New Hyde Park Village Hall and the Town of North Hempstead's Buildings Department to request property records.
There's 2 properties. One, she lived above the plumbing supply store, but then there's another house that she was about to move into that they were renovating. So there's different possibilities that I'd hope for them to acknowledge and try to question people that were there and go back and redo.
After 45 minutes of waiting, Maria and Sue walked away with some records, one from February of 1992 and one from December of 1993.
We were able to obtain some documentation regarding some open permits for gas burner and other information for the property that is presently owned by John Braun. That property was being renovated at the time of Noreen's disappearance. So we wanted to see if we could pull up some permits or any kind of information of things that were happening in the property at the time. And we were able to retrieve 2 of those documentation, and we're going to be submitting it to the police department now.
But they weren't able to get any of the paperwork about the sealed up well at the plumbing store. Do you want the police to search at this point?
That would be wonderful if they could search, but at this time, I would leave it up to the police to really find a way to get on the property.
Do you want the police department to dig up the well?
Yes, I would love for him to dig up the well.
Are you disappointed it hasn't been done yet?
discouraged, but not disappointed. We have hope. We're a group of young 60-year-olds, and we're not going to stop for anytime soon. Maybe they just need a little kick and a little help, and we're here to give everybody a little kick and a little help.
And part of not stopping anytime soon, Sue and Maria went back to the plumbing store to try to give it another shot. They went without me or our camera, and Chris did allow them into the backyard to look around, but the results were not what they had hoped for.
It's buried, concrete over it, and the man that owns the store right now is very hospitable to us, but he's running a business there now. So I have no other information about a well or if she's down there or not, but in 1990 there was no concrete there. So right now it's hard to tell what we're going to do about that, what anybody's going to do about that.
The well is covered by cement and a building, so to get to it might be near impossible. What broke my heart is that she left 2 children behind, and those children grew up without a mom. And I'm an advocate for the children. They should know what happened to mom. They should be able to put mom to rest.
What do you think Noreen would think? I don't know if you believe in afterlife or you believe she could be watching. What do you think she would be thinking right now?
Noreen is giggling and saying, I know you guys would have stirred the pot. She knew we were going to stir the pot and not put it to rest.
One thing the women found in their research, a copy of a domestic incident report filed with police 11 months before Noreen went missing.
It's a simple document with not a lot of information. On it, the officer wrote that the nature of the complaint was that John had threatened his wife's life. It also states that Noreen had an abrasion on her neck. The matter was referred to family court, and Noreen signed off on it, agreeing to no further police assistance. A rocky marriage is something Noreen's sister had told us about in the early 1990s.
He complained that he was stuck in a bad marriage, and he complained to her best friend that he wasn't going to give her a divorce and she wasn't going to get his kids. And I mean, just everything put together just makes us believe that he had something to do with it.
For the record, the Nassau Police Department has not named anyone a suspect in this case.
The police department said there was no surveillance video at the time. It was 1990. When I spoke to Noreen Braun's husband, John, at the time, he said that he had gotten a report that maybe 2 men had gotten into an argument with her and that she was abducted. Did you ever hear that at the time?
Yeah, we heard that, but nothing ever came of that. There was no evidence that there was any men in a white van coming to get her. No, there was nothing that substantiated that as well.
As part of this follow-up report, I called John Braun this time to see if he would meet with Noreen's friends or talk to me more.
Hello?
Hi, John. It's Eileen Lehpamer from News 12.
Yes?
Hi. I know we spoke back in January. So some of Noreen's friends, I'm not sure if you heard, they're in New Hyde Park today. And they're asking if, you would be willing to speak to the police again, or they're just trying to drum up new information. And I know last time you didn't want to speak on camera to me.
I don't. Not interested.
Would you be?
Because they caused a lot of heartache to my 2 older children. I'm not interested. Okay.
Okay. Would you be willing to speak to the police again if they're gonna? Because they
can question me anytime they want.
Okay.
I never listened. What was reported in the thing the last time was a bunch of because I granted them access to every place I had. There was no place that they didn't check and search and all of that. So. It's not exactly reported the way they're doing it anyway, so.
Oh, I didn't,
okay.
Yeah, they had told me they didn't search, but they did search.
That's a bunch of They had the dog, they had the what do you call it, dog around, so they did.
Okay, the backyard of the plumbing store and the.
Yes, and the house that I'm living in now, which we had not moved into.
They searched it with a dog?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they had full access to here.
Would you be
full access?
Would you be willing to allow them to do that again?
They can do anything they want. I'm not stopping them from doing anything.
Okay.
Okay. I've never stopped them from anything.
Okay.
Other than when they started, getting crazy with me, then my lawyer got involved, and he says, if you have any questions, go through him. So.
Okay. Would you want to do an on-camera?
Listen, I'm really not interested in talking to you right now anymore,
all right.
okay?
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
But police maintain they have never been given permission to search any properties owned by John Braun. With nothing much left to do during their day on Long Island, Maria and Sue wanted to have a meeting with Nassau's homicide detectives. They had already written this letter to the Nassau District Attorney, asking if the DA would take over the cold case.
What are you hoping for?
We were hoping for her support, and she did suggest to us that she would like us to work with the Nassau County Police Department, and because she will work with the Nassau County Police Department. So she kind of passed it on, which is fine, and said she's going to refrain from getting actively involved right now and asked us to seek out the information from the NCPD.
And so I reached out to Nassau homicide detectives to see if Sue and Maria could meet with them. And a short time later, a meeting was set, and the women headed into police headquarters in Mineola for a closed-door meeting.
It was a whirlwind of a day today. It was more than I expected. We're very grateful that the people of New Hyde Park were very open to talk to us.
We can't wait to partner with the Nassau County Police Department and find Noreen. I thank News 12 for being so supportive in helping us find this out some information, and I couldn't thank you enough. You've been a wonderful advocate, and you've always been available for us.
But really, it's these women, her childhood friends, who will not let Noreen Higuchi Braun be forgotten.
A lot of people go missing. I've never seen friends all these years later come from all locations. Florida, Elaine is from South Carolina, you have someone else from Connecticut.
Yes.
Why are you guys doing this?
Because it was very sorrowful to us that one of our teammates disappeared and we don't know what happened to her. You know, nobody should grow up without a mom like her children did, and there's no closure, and she deserves better. She deserves better, and we're hoping that something will come out of this. You never forget the people you grow up with. She was funny. She knew how to do martial arts really well. She was a skier. And she had a lot of life in her, and she adored her babies. When I found out she was missing, it was devastating to all of us that grew up with her, and it's really sad that we haven't been able to find out any information about this missing person. I know there's a lot of things going on Long Island that take precedence over this, but she's still one of our own, and we want to find out what happened to her. We really want to know who remembers and what they know so that we could move on. And if we ever find her, we would like to make a burial for her, or put this to closure for her family as well as us.
And perhaps Noreen's own sister explained it best back in 1993.
Not knowing 100% is like, it eats you up inside, you know, and it's not like if you lose somebody, you know, with time, it heals and you get better. With this, with time, you get worse. The longer that it goes on, the worse you get.